every few years, there's one product that I would say revolutionary in the industry. And this thing that I'm testing right now is definitely one of them. And I would go as far as that. Well, I've been asking for this type of technology since the beginning of this invention. Welcome back, it's Jimmy Cheng here from RED35. Yes, today I'm testing a gimbal and I want to introduce this company to you all, simply because that I don't think you have ever heard of them. And you may, if you've been following this channel long enough, because I have been testing a couple of their older gimbals in the past, but they were all tailored for smartphone users, not really for any kind of serious content creators who have a proper camera. And that's all changed with this MT2 here. Right, okay. To demonstrate, I had to use another camera so I can point the camera to the gimbal so you see exactly what's going on here. Right, you may see that the camera is actually moving with me, and there's no second cameraman here moving and everything. You know, the footage actually look quite natural and organic. It's not like robotic movements like some of the gimbals that we had before. And this is totally natural simply because it's got an AI module. So yeah, I'm gonna set this camera up and so you can see exactly how it works and things like that, because it is amazing. You know, I have to say that, you know, I'm so impressed that this could be my Four Thirds creator setup whenever I go out and about. So I got my camera set up here. Let me just track me for a little bit. So come over here. So you can see I've got my M1 Mark III here on my Billy 2 from three-legged thing. So you can see exactly what's going on in real time. So I want to demonstrate how the Hohem MT2 works, you know, and how everything, you know, hands-free. All you need to do is just to wave your hand, basically. That's how easy it is. You don't need to connect to the phone. I mean, you can, because there's an app for us. You can actually use the app just like traditional gimbal would do, you know, control everything through the app, you know, do the tracking using the app if you want to. But, you know, why if you got this independent unit that works so well, right? Okay. So there are a couple of modes here that you can do with the tracking. So first of all, you need that AI modules, you know, because you can't get the gimbal without the AI modules here. Let me just stop tracking for 1 second and let me just point it to you exactly what this is. So this little guy here is detachable, by the way. It's magnetic, and then it holds onto the gimbal itself magnetically and connected. Everything's wireless, so you don't even need to do anything, and just stick it on, turn it on, and it works. So at the moment it's red light, and now it's turned green because you see my gestures there, so it start tracking me. And this is amazing, you know, like you can just walk around, the camera will just seize you, and you can just do all kinds of animations that pretend that you have a second cameraman operating the camera for you. And the thing is, I think the movement is very natural. It's not very robotic with like some of those older gimbal is, and also they're quite unreliable at the same time as well. And this just works so well. So there are other things you can do as well. Not only just starting tracking, you can stop tracking just by holding your hand up like this, and it just stops. And to hold it an OK sign, it starts tracking one more time. But if you want to, like, let's say recompose yourself, if you like to talk about something that next to you, let's say have a guest, for instance, you can actually do it by you know, recomposing using another gesture just like this. And you can see that the green light start blinking now, and you can start walking around the frame. Yeah, see, it actually stops because you want to see where you want to position yourself, because the camera will remember your position and continue to track you that way. So let's say if you want to stand on the side of the frame, yep, like round about here, I think that's good. Hold up the gesture again, now the green light stops. So what it does, you know, look at that. It's really cool, right? So like now I can just stand wherever I want. The camera continue to follow me, but I will be on one side of the frame. So that means I can introduce something next to me, do something, maybe an interview, for instance, you know, that will follow me, having me as the focus instead of the person next to me. This is just amazing. You know, this is all automated, and you don't need to do anything. Really, you don't need to do anything. And that's how reliable this thing is. You know, like I can just walk further out, anything when I run out of space here, but then you get the idea. This is really, really cool. So let me stand in the middle of the frame again and continue this presentation here. So yeah, I think this looks good, right? There. Okay, stop it now. So there you go. What can I say? I'm just super impressed. stripping all the AI unit, the tracking things aside, I personally think that this is, just like any other gimbal on the market. And this is the problem in the gimbal market right now, is that all of them are exactly the same. They do the same thing. They do like sliding shot. They go POV. They do vortex, which is like a 360 thing. And they're all very similar. I can't really differentiate them, one way or the other, apart from build quality, maybe pricing, maybe the payload, for instance, how big a camera you can attach to it. That's kind of what separates them, really, but this is definitely useful. The AI tracking unit is the only feature that I would pay nowadays. I don't want to, spend my money and get another gimbal, just because it's another gimbal, it's a newer gimbal. To be honest, I can use the June Weebill 2, or Weebill less, it's older gimbal that still work as fine as any other gimbals on the market right now, and this is about 4 years old already. And so I don't need to spend money on the new stuff. But this guy is totally different, because it does all of these crazy things that it follows me around. And as a presenter myself, and also as a travel vlogger, sometimes if I want to film myself in a location, if I don't have a second person, which I don't this day, Tracy is working somewhere else. So I want some animations, I want some flexibility in compositions, and also showcasing the environment, for instance. This is the best option, right? And this features alone, it really is a selling product. It's the killer features, I would say, for all gimbal markets right now. Today I'm going to focus on Hohem, because Hohem, I definitely think that they have done a good job in finally releasing a bigger gimbal that allows me to plonk a OM-5 on top of it. And with the OM-5, with this setup that I'm using right now, if you want some shallow depth of field, just put a 1.2 Pro lens on it, and this is the ultimate gear combination for you to film something like this. And what I would say though, however, because the MT2 is geared for really small setup. So like if you want to put a bigger camera, full frame, even APS-C is at a push. And also the lens choice is pretty limited. And I found that, when it comes to balancing the gimbal, if I have heavier lenses, even a 1.2 lens on my OM-5 right now is probably the limit. Not in terms of payload, but in terms of balancing. And if you like if you want to operate a gimbal effectively and also save some battery life, you need to basically balance the gimbal as much as you can before you start powering on. And that's the trouble with the MT2 at the moment. Because the compact nature of the gimbal design, you can't fit too big of a camera setup on top of it, because you run out of space, and eventually you're going to hit the back motor housing, the side motor, everything just doesn't work. So at the moment, I actually personally think the OM-5, the EM1 Mark III, is the kind of like the perfect solutions. And all the 1.8 primes works magic with this setup here. The 1.2, like I said, if you want shallow depth of field, that's fine, but it's at a push, just a little bit too much for it, but it still works at the moment. I did try the GX6, which again still works, but you need to have a smaller setup, smaller lenses like the 1.8 prime lenses from Olympus once again, maybe some of the smaller Panasonic lenses, prime again, and no zoom, definitely won't fit the 12 to 100. So those are really heavy setup, and you do need a bigger setup for it. But apart from that, limitations, I think that, this is definitely doable. And, some of you may know that I'm going to Japan next year. I think I'm going to take this guy out with me because I can film some cinematic stuff, and I also can perhaps film something that I'm talking while I'm walking. So this is the typical setup, that I'll be vlogging with if I have to hold the gimbal like this. And the 9mm is perfect, so I don't have to really stretch on my arm, and just have to tuck it in just to, balance yourself a little bit more. But what's cool is, if I hold the camera just on a, let's say a gorilla pod, for instance, and like I mentioned earlier, the angle could be wrong. But now with the AI section here, so I basically use the gesture, and no matter how I turn, I will always be in the right position. Isn't that great? This is just crazy amazing here. And so I can just turn around, moving around, and I will always be in the center, and the system just sees me, continually tracks me, even when I'm vlogging and walking around. And like I said, you can recompose yourself as well. And so yeah, the whole thing just becoming more dynamic, give you that third dimension that many of the self-filming content creator lacks a lot of the time, because they will be like talking head, they'll be putting the camera in the stationary, on the in a fixed spot, and you kind of lack the excitement sometimes. You want to film, just have a slightly more production value in your content. If you want to go out, talk like this, just by walking around, you just simply don't get that sort of dynamics, even with a vlogging scenario when you're actually walking around. So yes, so this is the kind of like a vlogging scenario using the Hohem gimbal with the tracking on, because this is just amazing. I personally believe that this could be the ultimate vlogging setup for a single individual content creator. Obviously for the higher end stuff, you got a secondary photographer, filmmakers just do your filming, that of course that's the best case, right? You're still having a second person, you can fix the focus if it's just a little bit off, or like naturally, if you want to walk around, someone behind, things like that, that's something that this still can't do. You need to have another person to do that if you want to film from behind, for instance, like walking around the street and things like that. But in terms of facing the camera, this is just as good as a second cameraman. Another cool feature of the MT2 is that the AI unit is also double as a light, but not normal standard LED light just for fill light and things like that, but it's also a RGB light as well. That means you can change all kinds of colors to match the ambient environment, or simply just the color temperature itself. So this is brilliant, and this is fantastic, when you want to go out, have some fun with the gimbal, without having to lug around another light, for instance. But of course, this unit is quite tiny, quite small, so it's not very powerful in daylight like this. It's really gunning for the very low light environment when you go out in nighttime, for instance, and that light will be pretty useful for like arm length distance. That's why I mentioned about the vlogging stuff. And another cool thing about MT2 is that the gimbal does provide power. So it has a USB-C output at the back, so you can power your camera if you've got the USB-C PD feature on, for instance. So you can use it to power the camera at the same time, or simply just plug into a smartphone and charge it like that as well. And it also has a data point where you can actually plug it to your camera and control compatible cameras. Unfortunately, this is something that OM system / Olympus is still very, very much lacking in that regard. There's no open ports anywhere, so like there's very limited support in all kinds of environment, all sort of gimbals. None of them currently fully support Olympus / OM system cameras, but you can operate just like I do normally, just operate manually. So that data port doesn't mean anything to me. However, it does control the GX6. So I do have a GX6. I can control it if I really want to, but like I said earlier before, it's just a little bit too big for the gimbal itself. But other than that, these sort of clever features, very, very good and useful. So what's my verdict or conclusion on the Hohem MT2 gimbal for mirrorless cameras, small mirrorless cameras? I would say go as far as just go right ahead and buy it right now. And once again, I'm super impressed with the AI tracking unit, even though I've seen it already 3 years ago. That's the first iteration of the AI unit, and then the second generation, which is only a few months before this unit was released, aiming for smartphone users again. And but now they have made it for bigger camera, which is, to me, is what I've been wanted for a long, long time. So now they've done it, so I'm really, really happy about that. And what I would say is, if they just make it another bigger one, never say no, and make a slightly bigger one so I can use perhaps even bigger machines. And but I know that's a stretch, because I know Hohem is not really interested in competing with the space like Ronin, DJI, or the Jiyun, the S series, which is the big for bigger cameras and bigger setup, big rigs, for instance. I don't think they're gunning to compete with that. They're really like, you know, looking after the content creators like myself, who favor travel, lightweight and kind of thing, mobility. And yeah, that's a very good niche. That's a very good workable thing. I love it, you know, in general, because it does pack quite small. You can shove it to the backpack without having to notice the weight as well. It does come with the smartphone adapter if you want to use it for smartphone, and you know, it kind of like dual use. It's not just for mirrorless cameras. You can also plug an iPhone there. So overall, I think this perhaps is one of the best products I've seen in many years in the gimbal market. I know you may not have heard of Hohem, you know, a lot of filmmakers may not even consider Hohem because you haven't even heard of them, right? You know, and everyone's looking at Zhiyun, Feiyutech, DJI, and that, you know, that sort of, you know, bigger and more established gimbals. But this really is something to worth having a look at, especially if just starting out and the gimbals are not exactly that expensive. The AI tech itself is definitely worth every penny, if you ask me. It does well as any other gimbal on other aspects of it, you know, all the other modes that it has. So that's it. That's my conclusion. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's content. I hope you enjoy watching how Hohem MT2 performs, because it just something out of this world. You have to try to believe myself, believe what I just said. You know, you can go on Amazon. I have some links in the description. They are affiliate links, but it will help out the channel if you do consider buying them. Hopefully, you know, you can help me make more contents like this today. Anyway, keep shooting, keep creating, and go out and shoot more stuff. Yeah, the weather's still good. Anyway, you know what to do now. Thumb if you like this video, and sub if you want to stay in touch with all things photography, filmmaking, and of course, anything to do with Michael 4/3. Peace. Welcome to my bonus sections. Yes, I am genuinely impressed with Hohem's latest gimbal, the MT2. This guy is just phenomenal, and I'm hoping Hohem will watch this and listen to my comments, and also release maybe slightly bigger version of this. You know, I'm not asking you to make a big giant one, you know, but something slightly bigger, maybe just so you can put slightly bigger setup if I really want to, while still maintaining the tracking feature. That would be fantastic. Sometimes, let's say if I want to use a 12-100 f4, for instance, just do some traveling, you know, have the all-in-one thing, that would be good, because at the moment, because how compact the MT2 is, and I cannot use any bigger lenses than, you know, the 1.2 Pro prime lens that I used was really the limit in terms of size, and not weight but size. So it's a little bit limiting in that respect, but other than that, I'm super happy. You know, this is just, yeah, just really cool here. But anyway, thank you for watching. Nothing else I want to add to this particular part now, because I love it. I simply love it. I've been using a Hohem gimbal for a lot of self-filming and traveling for my family for, you know, since the V2, which is 3.5-4 years ago now. So I love their product. I do love their products. I mean, I know I've been using Zhiyun's gimbals a lot. You know, those are like for heavy stuff, in which Hohem doesn't actually provide any solutions for that. So so at the moment, any sort of serious filmmaking, I'm still using Zhiyun's gimbals, because they are tailored for those kind of setup. But apart from that, for a lot of personal stuff, yeah, the Hohem wins.